Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review for It Chapter 2, directed once again by Andy Muschietti. I think that's how you pronounce his name. We pick up kind of where the first film left off, where Chapter 1 left off, with the Losers Club kind of making a pact that in 27 years, if the evil should rise again, that they will all come back together to try and defeat it. The evil, of course, does rise again, because otherwise we wouldn't have a Chapter 2. And Michael, the only character from the first film to have remained in the town of Derry, and for some reason, therefore, the only one who can actually remember what happened, he calls the rest of them up and brings them back together to go up against the demonic clown. Is it any good though? It depends by what standards, I guess, you're measuring it. I can only measure it against the first one. What I will say is I saw the first one and this one in a double bill at my local Odeon, and I always liked that first part, from a couple of years ago, and watching it this time around, I once again really liked it. It was really tense. There was a lot of genuine scary moments. I liked the characters. I liked the chemistry between them all. I thought Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise was really great. It had the right amount of humour, not too much, just a little bit peppered throughout that came out of the character interactions, but mostly appropriate. And watching it in this double bill, you couldn't help but feel the change in tone. The second part, again, bearing in mind I watched this right after the first one, it feels like a different film. It feels like it's been put into the hands of a different filmmaker who decided to, I don't know, joke it up a bit. There's too much humour, far too much humour. A lot of that kind of comes out as well, I think, of not developing these characters properly, but rather just making them adult versions of their childhood selves, which on the surface of it probably sounds a bit stupid. Let me explain. It's essentially adult people just playing those kids, which I don't know about you, but me personally, if you put my 14-year-old self, hell, if you put my 28-year-old self in front of me now, I don't think I would bear much resemblance personality-wise. I'm a completely different person. Why? Because I've grown over the years. I've matured, hopefully. I look back on my childhood self, my teenage self, my 20-something self, and each step of the way I would say I'm not the same person. And the problem here is that they make these people the same people. So you got Bill Hader as Richie, who's probably the standout amongst the main cast, certainly with regards to likability, but that's just because he's a motor mouth. Same way that he was in the first one, in the first part. They do give him a little bit more character growth, probably more so than any other character. They give him a bit of a dark secret, or what he perceives to be a dark secret anyway, that he doesn't tell anyone, and that becomes his thing throughout the film, which they explore a moderate level. But then you've got James Ransone Ransone, I don't know how you pronounce that either, as Eddie, who is literally the same person. It could literally be that kid still playing. This guy hasn't changed at all. It's like there's no growth there. He's the same person as an adult as he was when he was a child. I personally see that as bad writing. These people haven't grown. Even Jessica Chastain as Beverly, she's shacked up, and I know this does actually happen. She's shacked up with a guy who's quite abusive, very much a similar personality to her father. I know a lot of people, a lot of women who've suffered abuse at the hands of their fathers can often go on to yeah, it's a bit of a twisted psychology there, but it's just, there's not enough growth for me with this bunch of people. The humour it practically does ruin the film at times, because you've got moments that should be tense and are well, they're not tense because of the humour. They should be tense, but they're not, because everybody's wisecracking. You've got one moment in which someone gets stabbed, and then this other person who stabbed them, the way he gets out of that situation, the way he kind of moves out of the room, it's played for laughs. And in that moment, you would not be laughing. You would not be finding it funny. You've been hurt. You've seriously hurt someone else. You've killed them. This ain't the time for jokes. This ain't the time to mock someone's appearance and get a laugh out of it. That's tension moment. That is a moment that should be played for tension. It should be played for drama, and it's not. And unfortunately, that can be said of so many moments in this film. I wouldn't mind that so much. I really wouldn't. If it weren't for the fact that the first film wasn't like that. Yes, we did have humour. I'm not saying we didn't have humour in that first film, but the tension was there throughout, and they didn't kind of burst that bubble of tension constantly with moments of humour. There was the odd little moment where a nervous kind of joke could come out because of the situation, but it felt natural, especially within the framework of it being this group of kids. But here, as these adults that don't seem to have developed at all since they were children, it just doesn't work for me. Add that to a ton of CGI work in the horror department. Whenever Pennywise does his thing, this kind of suffers with a very similar ending to the made-for-TV movie version of it as well, in which once the big spider in that came out, it just lost any kind of tension or scare factor for me. This has a similar vibe about it, in the sense that once you get closer, basically the closer you get to the end, the more tension is kind of lost. I found myself really starting to check out. The running time is ridiculously long. I don't mind the long running time. You know, I just recently sat through Quentin Tarantino's new film. It was a pretty long beast, but I was gripped. I was hooked into the characters. I wanted to see where it was going. That running time isn't utilised to the best of its ability. It's like, yeah, you've got 3 hours worth of film there. You could really do something with these characters, but instead you have scene after scene after scene of these visions, these nightmarish visions, or what should be nightmarish visions, which are undercut all the time with humour, just taking any tension out, and also kind of backed up with a lot of CGI that never works as well as practical effects, or at the very least subtle CGI. You know, CGI can be good when it's used in a subtle way, but when you, in some cases, go on to full big ass CGI creations, it's just like, yeah, great, I'm watching a special effect. Next. So yeah, there you go. That's all the negatives. I know that's quite a lot of them. That being said, I still enjoyed it. I still had fun with it. I still liked the characters, even though they hadn't developed, they hadn't grown at all, really. I still liked them. I like when they get together. I enjoy the chemistry between them. The actors work well. McAvoy is particularly good. Chastain is particularly good. And Hader is particularly good. Again, Bill Skarsgård really owns it as Pennywise. Just a shame they don't let him do most of the work in some cases, and they kind of let the CGI take over. And yeah, like I say, it is humorous. The humour does work. It is funny. It gets the desired effect in that you laugh. So in that kind of respect, I am entertained by it. It's just that's not the tone I wanted. I wanted the tone from the first film. You know, that was the tone we were given. That was the pretext under which I came to this one, you know. And when I sat there in that double bill and I watched the first film and I loved it, I was into it, I was tense, I was scared, I was all this, that and the other. When those end credits came up on the first film, I was like rubbing my hands together thinking, come on, bring on this second part. And the tone just, it was so different that it's like, this ain't what I wanted. Yes, it's amusing, yes, it's entertaining, but it's not what I wanted. You know, if you'd have made the first film like that a couple of years ago, I'd probably be on board with it, because that's what we would have been given right off the bat. But to change it and kind of do away with the more tense aspects and bring up the comedy to the fore, yeah, you've got me under false pretenses, I guess. Beyond that, you know, it's got good cinematography, it's got effective music. I think the score was by Benjamin Wallfish, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I'm sure I saw his name come up at some point. But yeah, it was an effective score. And some of the visions, as I say, are genuinely freaky. And there are still some moments where, as with the first film, they go for the jugular when it comes to killing kids. You know, they don't seem to shy away from that as most horror films would. I'm talking young children. You know, we're used to seeing teenagers or 20-somethings playing teenagers get hacked up and whatnot. But when it comes to actual kids in horror films, it tends to be something they stay away from. Not here, as with the first part. Yeah, so there you go. They do take some risks in the horror department, but like I say, you know, it's a bit disappointing, because that first one was so good. This is a bit of a come down. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Like I say, entertaining, still like it. It's just, yeah. Like I say, if this was the first part, if this is how the tone was on the first part, I probably wouldn't be so harsh, but it's not. So there you go. 3 out of 5 from me. But what about you? Have you seen it? If so, what did you think about it? Comment below. Let me know. Thanks for watching. And until next time, cracking.